Hey mate, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm awesome, thanks.
Yeah, how's Bristol looking?
Wet and miserable at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's Liverpool's the same story, so it's horrible up here.
Liverpool's always like that.
Up north, innit, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to get like straight into this. So you was a professional judo player for 12 years.
I mean, the term professional is very nice of you.
Okay.
I was a UK sport funded judo athlete,
Okay.
but professional is, you say professional, I think of footballers getting paid millions.
Okay.
Certainly wasn't that.
So what was life like as an athlete, as a UK funded athlete? So give us an insight for those of us who wouldn't know what that world is.
Yeah, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, you train maybe 2, 3 times a day. Normally, some kind of strength and conditioning work, technical training, sparring, so basically rolling around on the mat, beating your mates up.
Yeah.
2 hours in the evening, every night, more or less.
Okay.
And that was sort of 6 days a week for up to 12 years. Interspersed with kind of your day-to-days, you would spend quite a lot of time internationally in other countries, rolling around the mat with people from other countries who just like to beat people up. And it's maybe the easiest way to explain it is like you just try and throw each other on your back, or
Okay.
strangle, unlock, or choke each other. It's all a bit weird.
Yeah. Okay.
A really cool sport.
Yeah. No, because I knew a little bit about judo, and then obviously I met you, so I've known you for what 12 years? I don't
Since you were
know.
this
Yeah, but I'm that too anyway now. So I met you in must have been 2010. It's
yeah,
got to be
totally.
when we were both in Bath, and obviously like knowing you and becoming friends with you, I learned more about it. So when you are like going internationally, how does that work? So how are you ranked, and how does that all work?
Yeah, the easiest way to explain it is it's similar to like the tennis tour. So you have Grand Slams.
Yeah.
You have a major championships like World Championships and Europeans, but you also have 4 Grand Slams or 5 Grand Slams now throughout the year, where they're the major point scoring events.
Okay.
And then there's different tiers, so there's like challenger events, which we call
So where are these Grand Slams then? Are they all in the UK or?
no, Paris, Tokyo, Moscow,
Oh bloody hell! So they're
Rio.
everywhere.
They move around a little bit, but
Okay.
the big ones would be like your Paris, yeah, and there's ones in like Abu Dhabi and stuff like that now.
Okay. So what? So you'd go to these events and then you'd score points, or is
Yeah,
there
so
ranking?
exactly, the world ranking is based on your top 5 results for that calendar year. So
Okay.
you might only do 5 competitions. They might be the best ones, and you go and you win them. You don't have to fight anymore.
Okay.
Those that are lowly ranked like myself would have had to be traveling around the world every weekend fighting in order to get your world ranking up.
Right. So what's in between these grand slams then? Is there like any other competitions?
Yeah, so you got Grand Slam, then there's Grand Prix, and underneath that you've got Continental Opens.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. So world ranking points, winning a Grand Slam, you're probably talking 2,000 points. Winning a Continental Open, you're talking 100 points. So the massive differences in terms of
Wow.
how many points you accrue towards qualifying for the games.
Okay.
It's a brutal qualification system that
Yeah.
only send one person per country per weight category,
Wow.
which is actually plays in everyone else's favour, because otherwise there'd be 4 Japanese in every Olympic Games and they win all the medals.
So is it fair to say like the Japanese are the top in judo, like the top people
Yeah,
in judo?
by far, they are the #1 nation. But there's almost every country that you come across has a world-class judo player, at least one that's kind of competitive at the very top level.
Okay.
Countries like Georgia, Korea, Brazil, France in particular. France is one of the strongest judo nations in
Oh
the world.
wow. Okay. So what did you fight in? Was it 90?
Yeah, 90 kilograms.
Okay, cool. And what was the weight categories? Did it start at like, because we've got a mutual friend, Greg,
Yeah,
and what is he, 60, 70?
66.
66. Okay, cool. So it would go in like different categories and you'll fight someone. It's a bit like boxing.
Yeah, exactly. Weight
Yeah.
categories. I would fight anyone that weighed between 81 kilograms and 90.
Okay.
Although officially, when I fought them, because the weigh-in's the night before, so by the time I'm fighting someone, they could be 95 comfortably.
Oh, wow, really? So you can add that 5 just overnight or over the time period?
Yeah. Well, it used to be a lot worse. People would come in like sort of 5, 6, 8 kilos heavier. So they put a rule in that actually randomly on the day of the competition, they select 4 people from each weight category. And if you're over 5% of your weight, then they disqualify you from the tournament. So quite often you'll see people sweating off in the morning of the event, and you're like, hang on, weigh-in was yesterday.
Oh wow! So what was the like career highlight for you in your judo career?
Oh, that's a hard one. Competing in the Paris Grand Slam was one of the best. When you're talking most competitions in judo, especially in this country, you've got 100 fans watching.
Yeah.
Paris Grand Slam, you're talking 15,000 capacity stadium, fully. It's Bercy Stadium in Paris, and because it's such a big judo nation, competing in Paris, that's like the number one.
So what's that feeling like then when you're, because most of us, I'm talking the world population, would never feel that and would never experience that. So what's that like fighting in front of that many people?
It's really weird, because I would love to say the really professional bit and go, oh, you never notice it, and you're just zoned in on the competition.
Yeah.
But the time I fought in Paris, I clashed heads with the guy I was fighting, and he came off worse. He had to get taped up on his head. But I was watching the big screen. You know, like in basketball matches, they have like the 4 screens around the edge. I was watching that. Yeah. I was watching myself thinking, bloody hell, you're fat. I was fighting the way up, and I was looking across at me. The guy was like 8 kilos heavier than me, with abs coming outside of his judo jacket. And I looked down, and I looked up at the camera, and I was like, I'm moving back down the category. And after that, I moved back down.
So can I say, like, my personal favorite of your career? Like, my personal favorite is probably the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
In 2014.
Yeah, that's right.
So where you won bronze, which even saying it now is ridiculous. And I've been to your house, and you've got your bib, like framed, haven't you? And it's just amazing. So what was that like? Like going through qualifications for the Commonwealth Games, and obviously the Commonwealth Games itself.
Okay, so I'm going to let you into a little bit of a secret.
Go on then.
The Commonwealth Games for judo isn't necessarily the hardest competition. It's tough. It's Commonwealth Games. It's a major sporting event. It's a multi-sport event. But when I just told you about the major nations in judo, so Japan, France, Georgia, Korea, none of which are in the Commonwealth.
Oh, of course they're not. Yeah. Yeah.
So what you end up finding is Commonwealth Games is slightly easier. And so my goal was always Olympic Games.
Of course, yeah.
But actually not making, I was reserved for Beijing and missed out in Rio for injury. But Commonwealth Games actually ended up being a really cool experience. Like competing for Scotland, where I grew up, competing in Glasgow, the city that I was born in, in front of sort of my friends and family. And actually the whole build up to it as well, like being part of Team Scotland, we moved up to Edinburgh to train with the Scottish team because we just wanted it to be a real authentic experience. Yeah. Training with my hero, Ewan Burton, which was really cool. And then he ended up coaching me. Like it was a really, really cool experience. Wearing a kilt for the opening ceremony and being part of that was like, as a seriously cool experience. Yeah. And then coming out for the bronze medal match. I don't know if I told you this. As I walked up the steps to get onto the mat to fight for the bronze medal match, I was the first match on in the medal sort of session. And I stood up to the top of the steps and I saw Sarah's uncle just looking at me. Like for some reason in the crowd, I just spotted one person and was like, oh God, now the pressure's on.
For those of you who are listening, I don't know who Sarah is. Sarah is Andy's wife, and I'm taking credit for that because I introduced you guys, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah. So I remember going to because you got married on the 16th of September.
Yeah.
And then you had a party in Edinburgh on the 14th of November.
Yeah.
Nice. And I remember because I went up there and I was speaking to Sarah's mum, Sue, and I'll say, oh, what's going? Because I arrived late, and I said, oh, what times and stuff? And Sue goes, did you not get the invitation? I was like, no, I didn't get any invitation. So I was sitting there for like a minute thinking, have I been invited?
How did you get there? Who told you where to go?
Exactly, yeah. And then I thought, if it wasn't for me, no one would be here anyway. So I thought, I just went to the bar.
You should have just walked in and gone, I'm here, everyone, I'm here.
But then it turns out that you guys did send the invitation, but you sent it to my old address, which is where I went to. But yeah, so I'm just saying for everyone, I'm taking credit for that marriage that you're in now.
Damn you.
Yeah. So you retired in 2016. What have you done since then?
It's been a bit of a whirlwind since then, actually.
Yeah.
Someone was silly enough to give me a job as a lecturer at university when I never taught before in my life. So I
Right.
came out and I was like, I honestly wanted a clean break from judo. I was like, I don't want to be coaching straight away. So I took this role of setting up a strength conditioning degree program at Winchester Uni,
Yeah.
which was throwing right in at the deep end. Now, that was interesting and it was really cool. But then at the same time, because I was working in that field of strength conditioning, the Welsh Judo Team and my old coach, who was now the CEO of the organisation, said, why don't you come and do some work with us? Just in terms of in the gym, so you don't even have to step on the mat at all. You can just train them in the gym. It'd be good to have someone who knows judo to sort of help the athletes develop and be a role model, a mentor to them. So I accepted that kind of role and position. Sure enough, within weeks I was on the mat coaching. Just because,
of course you was. I know what you're like, because you can't get away. You can't.
No.
If the pool's big enough, you'll go.
Yeah, exactly. So that clean break didn't happen. I ended up coaching straight away. And then from that, I was still lecturing at university, but wasn't really giving it everything because coaching became my life. And sort of every waking moment when I wasn't writing lectures and delivering them on the fly, I was thinking about the athletes I was working with and how I could get them better and how I could help develop their judo and take them to the next level and give them the opportunities that I did or didn't have as an athlete.
So what sort of athletes were you training? Was it like under 15s or was it like elite?
So it was the Welsh national team, so they're a home nation. So they sit within the GB program, but you know, one or two of them were really good and talents. So between kind of 15 and 19, 15 to 21, there was one or two athletes that were seniors, one of which was currently world number one, which was really cool.
That's incredible.
Yes, yeah, I did her kind of S&C program, whereas my old boss coached her, and then I got to work with the younger athletes, cutting my teeth as a coach and working with them, and understanding, because I'd been there, when people sneak out and go out for a few drinks at night, knowing where to wait for them when they come back in.
Yeah. So what did you do after? Are you still doing Welsh Judo now then? Or?
Yes, so I support them more on a consultancy basis. So I might do the international competition or training camp for them as a hobby more than anything. It's not my career now. So I left Welsh Judo in July 2018.
Okay.
A job came up. Actually, my boss at Welsh Judo said, I think you'd be really suited to this. And if you ever want to progress in the upper echelons of kind of British sport, this is a really good opportunity for you. And the role was like performance pathway scientist.
Okay.
I was like, what even is one of them? What do they do?
I love, for sound like this, you've just like felt like step by step.
Yeah, well, honestly, I'm lucky, and I just seem to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So say you make your own luck. I really think that I just stumble into things. And oh, this is cool.
So what are you doing for the English Institution of Sport then? So you're a pathway scientist, yeah?
Yeah, pathway scientist is basically, and it's actually the coolest job in the world.
Okay.
And I mean that. So we work with every single sport and the Olympic and Paralympic programs to do what I was doing with Welsh Judo, to help develop the athletes that will compete in Paris Olympic Games in 4 years' time.
Okay.
And in LA in 8 years' time. So we help sports to put the right coaches in place, to develop the coaching, develop the pathway, recruit and develop athletes, build systems and processes, understand how they make selections, all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Across the whole network of sports. So it's really cool, really varied role.
Yeah. So what sort of, so say if I was I don't know, in the top three, I'm a 14-year-old, I do 100 meters. So how would you help me? Or what sort of stuff would you do if that was me in that situation?
That's a really good question. So if at 14 years old, you're one of the best 100-meter sprinters, yeah, chances are you're probably physically mature for your age. You might have been born in Q1, so you might be September to November. So you might have had different experiences and been afforded more opportunities as a young athlete. You might be from a club and a coach that's just usually transitions athletes all the way through. So you might have some advantages, and you might be the best one. So you might think, oh, I'm on a trajectory to be the best. What we might do is go, well, actually, we know from studies over numbers and numbers of years that junior, under 14, under 15 success has almost no correlation to senior success.
Oh, okay.
So we help sports to understand, actually, if you pick the fastest 15-year-old, you're taking a risk. And it's all management of risk, isn't it? So you might be the one that came third or fourth, but has had no training, or is a late maturer. So actually, we just help sports to understand the complexities of talent development.
Okay, so you have because I read a story about Adam Jamili. Is that where he was playing football, but he was released by his club, and then he transitioned to 100 meters, and he's been smashing it for the last couple of years for the Team GB. So is that something you would look at?
Yeah, so the team that I work for, we run national recruitment campaigns around every major Olympic Games, winter and summer. And I'll give you an example of one athlete. So there was a heptathlete who, again, kind of got released, wasn't necessarily part of the performance program anymore, went to one of our talent recruitment campaigns, and since then has won 2 Olympic gold medals.
Wow.
And
so who's that?
His name is Lizzie Arnold, which most people would have heard of or come across. Skeleton athlete. So went from heptathlon to skeleton and won 2 gold medals. And there's loads of success stories of people either transferring from, they might be in a world-class program in one sport and just hit a ceiling because, you know what, I'm not in love with the sport anymore and I can't get any better. We might go, actually, you're a canoeist, you might be really well suited to rowing. So we help that transfer.
Okay. So you're using so you're identifying specific skill sets and then using it as transform to other sports. So using that example of Jamili, obviously football, he's using his legs a lot.
Yeah.
So naturally you'd think he'd be a runner.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what sort of other projects have you worked with the institution of sport?
So just in terms of outside of that performance pathway role. So again, I've stumbled into the role that I really wanted to work towards in 10 years' time. Someone just decided to give it to me recently. So it's just really bizarre. So my kind of goal objective was to kind of be in the performance team or lead the performance team going into a major Olympic Games.
Okay.
And I've just happened to land a role recently where I'm head of performance support or performance support lead for para archery, which is a sport I know nothing about.
Yeah.
And archery. So Olympic and para archery, I'm helping them work with the athletes and the support team in the lead up to Tokyo, which would have been in 2 months' time.
Yeah.
Now it will be next year.
Yeah, because Euro 2020 was meant to start last week, I think.
Yeah.
Which is as a massive football fan, I was generally gutted. Yeah, but yeah, but yeah,
that has massive implications beyond. Obviously, you know, sport is a really unimportant part of society. Really, you know,
I agree.
Really important, but it's it pales in comparison to what's going on outside. But for us who work in it, it has massive implications. There might be athletes who are at their very peak now, going into the games, like an Adam Peaty, for example, who is just smashing it in swimming.
Oh, how many world records has he got?
Ridiculous.
That's not human. That can't be human. I think he's got the 10 fastest times in breaststroke.
Something like that,
which that's not cool, is it?
It
is, well, I guess so, yeah. So Adam Peaty, he'll be peak.
Yeah. So he might be peaking now. And in swimming terms, it's a real physiologically based sport. Give it 12 months, it's hard to maintain that peak for another 12 months. And there might be someone that's chasing his heels and says, actually, the selections and the pressure that athletes are going to go in over the next 12 months is crazy.
Yeah. So of course. Yeah, I didn't think of it like that, because you're thinking if you're selected for 2020, that's not guaranteed that you'll be selected for 2021.
Most sports hadn't made all the selections yet. Some sports have, and they're honouring that selection, but some sports are saying, well, we haven't selected yet. So also all the qualification events haven't finished yet. So it's all up in the air.
I didn't even think of it like that, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, yeah, because if you're ready, in what, a month's time, is it that's when Tokyo starts, then it's gonna affect how you perform and how you experience stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So those athletes are having to deal with the fact that the games isn't happening now, and actually if it was now, they would go and they would have a good chance of medaling, where in 12 months' time they might not even go, which is just detrimental to someone's sort of mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, that is, yeah. Because, so going back to football, the Everton manager, Carlo Ancelotti, said football's the most important thing of the least important stuff. So there's obviously there's bigger things going on and more important things. But I think sport in general, it just brings people together and a sense of community. And with the Premier League coming back, it's just been a massive. I've been over the moon like with like sports slowly but surely coming back, which is amazing.
It's just good to have something to watch that's live, other than watching Netflix or Amazon Prime all the time.
Yeah. So you're doing. So you mentioned earlier you're doing a PhD. So what does that involve? Sorry.
For my sins.
For your sins. So what does that involve? What are you doing in that?
I had this idea that if I did a PhD in the area that I'm doing it in, it would lead to me being in one of these performance support roles, which has happened anyway. So I may as well just bin the PhD. But actually, what's happened is I've been really lucky to get into that position. But also, the PhD is around how teams function. So high-performing teams, so teams that work around an athlete or a group of athletes at the very top level of sport. And I'll give you a really quick synopsis of it. You might have a strength and conditioning coach whose job is to get them fit and strong. And then you'll have a physio whose job is to stop them from getting injured.
Like a nutritionist, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a team of different practitioners who have different objectives. One of them is to stop them getting injured. One of them is to push them to the boundaries to make sure that they can compete at the very top level. Quite often they contradict and bounce off each other.
Yeah.
And then you throw a coach into the mix who either does or doesn't understand the complexities of all those different sports science disciplines. And it can get quite messy.
Yeah.
So the really good teams...
did you go through that when you were an athlete? Did you have coaches who were pushing you to your boundaries, and also like someone physio who was trying to stop you? Did that happen with you?
Yeah, it happened to me. But the reason I kind of got interested in the area was I saw it happen in two different environments. So one environment I saw, there was an athlete who was competing towards the games, and they had the different practitioners around them who were doing what they were told to do. Actually, the strength coach was doing a really good job in getting this person stronger. But that wasn't necessarily equating to performances on the field or on the mat. Whereas in another environment, the coach was leading it. So everybody was in the room for meetings, and it was every practitioner, the athlete, the coach, all sat around going, what does this next 6 weeks look like? What do we need to do? You as the S&C coach, you need to make sure that you work with the nutritionist closely so you get the adaptations right. And actually, we're going to try and put some size on this 6 weeks. I'll drop some of the technical sessions out so she can adapt. And you go, okay, well, that's a real, what we call interdisciplinary practice, where everyone's outside of their own current discipline and working on performance problems rather than just doing their bit.
Okay.
So I got really interested in it and thought, I wonder if there's much out there that sort of speaks to it. And actually, there is some stuff from surgical teams, from medicine, from business, actually from sort of orchestras and different performing arts.
Wow.
But
okay.
actually isn't that much in sport that kind of understands and unpicks the complexities of that kind of performance team. So I thought, why not throw my hat in the ring and try and understand it a little bit, which is, again, pure luck. I'm in a position where I can access all the different sports in that field and ask the questions and try and build a body of knowledge around how teams function at the elite level.
Yeah. So have you heard of Jake Humphreys, the presenter for BT Sport?
No.
So he does a podcast called the High Performance Podcast, which sort of touches on what you're doing. So basically him and there's a professor called Damien Hughes, which is so he works in like sort of the Northwest, and basically interview high achievers and high performers. And they talk about why are they high performers? Why are they the best of the best of the best? Why are they the 1% of the 1%?
Yeah. And
it's a really fascinating like chat. So they've talked to people like Holly Tucker, the owner of notonthehighstreet.com, and like sports stars like Dylan Hartley, Rio Ferdinand, and also, which you will find interesting, he speaks to Dame Kelly Holmes.
Okay, yeah.
Who you worked for her foundation? Is it her charity?
Yeah, I did a little bit of work for her charity when I was an athlete. The Dame Kelly Holmes Legacy Trust is an amazing charity.
Yeah.
Kelly Holmes used her name and her appeal to get a load of athletes who potentially didn't have a secondary income, an opportunity to work with young kids in the community to give them some inspiration. You know, we're all these athletes that compete at the top level. Yeah. We've got as many problems, if not more problems. There's no normal athlete. Right. But what we could do is use our kind of platform in which we can go in and try and inspire some people to get involved in sport and develop themselves through sport. So it was a really cool charity, and I got to go to some really cool places like Shetland, which is just the windiest place in the world. No trees grow.
But yeah, no, I totally agree with like sort of sports stars or sports athletes, shall I say, using their platform for good. For, like our recent example was Marcus Rashford,
Exactly.
the footballer using like making the government do a U-turn, and in essence, let's be honest, all he does is kick a ball around. If we
Yeah.
break it down and go down to the minimal level, all he does is kick a ball around. But he's raised so much money and helped people that he'll probably never meet, and he's helped them so much. So I massively agree with you with using your platform and using your voice for good.
Yeah. It's really, as cheesy as it is, UK sports tagline is to inspire a nation.
Yeah.
And actually, if you do it in the right way, your Adam Jamilis, your Marcus Rashfords, but in the actions that they do and the platform they have, they can inspire people. So yeah, it's a cool platform, but you've got to use it for good. And not everyone does that.
No, you're right. You're right. So just to like finish off, so coming to the end of the podcast, I want to ask you 3 questions. So 3 questions on the past, present and future. So the first question is on the past is, what advice would you give a 15-year-old Andy Burns? So what would you say to him?
Ooh, that's a good one. Actually, what I would say is have some belief and some confidence in yourself. Yeah. And it's a really weird thing to say, because like a young sort of active, fit young athlete, you'd think has got all the confidence in the world. But quite often, young athletes are quite insecure because they're looking at everyone around them going, oh my God, they're so much better than me. And actually having a bit of belief and a bit of confidence, going, you know, I'm just as good and I can compete on this level. It took me quite a long time to build that confidence. Yeah. And it's done through experience, but actually having a little bit of belief and being, oh, well, I'm here as well. So there's a reason why I'm here. That would have been really useful. So I think just have a bit of belief. Yeah,
I relate to that so much, because when people meet me for the first time, they think I'm like super, super confident. And that can't be further from the truth, because I think I'm very, 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 very good at acting confident. But I'm not confident within myself. I'm not confident. I'm just like ridiculously good at acting it.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And actually, when you're a combat sport athlete in particular, you've got to put on this front of I'm confident and stick your chest out and be this
Conor McGregor
person. Conor McGregor, exactly. Yeah. You know, this whole idea of fake it till you make it is actually plays out quite a lot. Yeah. But you know, the whole mental health campaigns that are going on at the moment, actually, this front that you put on can be detrimental to your development. Yeah. So like, have confidence, but you know, it's not bravado. You've got to actually believe in yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So a quick question about the present. So you've got you're having a dinner party. You've got 3 guests, and you can invite anyone you want to. So they can be dead or alive. They can be celebrity, non-celebrity. Who would you go for? Who would you have at this dinner party?
Well, certainly not my wife, because she didn't invite me to her party.
Yeah, so Sarah, she was episode, I think, 6 of this podcast. Yeah, she didn't invite you.
What's that all about?
I would have a word with her. Have a word.
Yeah, I'm going to. It's a good question. So I was giving this some thought, and actually I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast. I know a few people have mentioned Joe Rogan, haven't they?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
When I was out running the other day, I listened to one, and he was talking to Jocko Willink, who's one of my other characters, ex-Marine, who's like super like train hard, up at 4:30 in the morning, just running like a crazy man. But they both, and this confirmed for me who I would have. They think The Rock should go for president. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock should run for president. Yeah. And I'm not sure about that, because, you know, he's just a big meaty guy, but he's quite inspiring. You know, the work ethic that he has, the career that he's carved out for himself, just seems like a genuinely nice guy as well. And he'd have some stories from his time. And he would be amazing at dinner. Also, I'd like him to have a big stack of pancakes like he does on his cheat days and just see him demolish it.
Exactly, yeah.
But he'd be first on my list. Second would be a guy called Tim Ferriss. And I don't know if you know Tim Ferriss or come across him.
I don't know. Who is he?
He's a famous podcaster and blogger as well. He's one of the Silicon Valley guys. So he's an investor in like Airbnb and Tinder and all that sort of stuff. But he does like lots of self hacks and like life hacks and tests things on his body. So he's played around with like intermittent fasting. He's played around with lots of different things. He just constantly experiments, and he's got an amazing podcast. If you're keen, it's the Tim Ferriss Show.
Okay, I'll check him out.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger and just like super cool people on it. So yeah, definitely check him out.
Okay.
But I'd have him because he's got some really cool stories and he speaks fluent Japanese, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
And it would also help for my third guest because I don't speak fluent Japanese. And my third guest would be the founder of judo, so Jigoro Kano. And I know that's all, judo. But actually, what he did at a time when jiu-jitsu had, I guess, the jiu-jitsu schools in Japan were in conflict with each other. Jiu-jitsu was quite violent, so it was blows and weapons. And, if you were in a fight, you come out of it and you'd be injured or dead. It was kind of that war in factions in Japan.
Yeah.
He devised a way to use the techniques of jiu-jitsu and make it so that you could fight each other in a safe way where you wouldn't get hurt. And he used that, so he was an educator, and he used judo as a way to kind of educate and develop people morally, physically, spiritually. But I wonder what he would make of judo in this day and age, being an Olympic sport and people being a little bit more kind of Instagram famous and, flaunted. I wonder I'd just like to use Tim Ferriss's Japanese to ask Jigoro Kano some questions. Like, what do you think about, the way society's gone and the way judo is played out at the moment?
Yeah. That sounds like, good. So you've got the founder of judo, you've got The Rock, you've got Tim Ferriss, and you've got Andy Burns.
And also, at the end of that dinner, I'd make The Rock and the founder of judo fight, because I just think that'd be really cool.
Mate, I would pay to see it. Imagine, The Rock doing like the people's elbow on the founder of judo.
I'd be excited about that dinner because I just think it'd be really cool.
Yeah. So just to wrap up, the last question. So this question's about the future. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? So what do you think Andy Burns will be doing in 2030?
Retiring,
for the second time.
For the second time. It's a really good question. I don't know if I have like a coherent answer or something that offers anything, but just doing something that I enjoy. I don't think making more money is one of the things that I want to do. Quite happy with the sort of the position that I'm in. I think working with good people, doing something that I'm passionate about, and actually still looking after my health. I don't want to be quite often in the job that I do. We spend a lot of time in hotels and conference centers.
Yeah.
And I see these like bald, fat, middle-aged businessmen who are getting like 12 bacon rashers from the breakfast bar. And I look at them and go, as long as I don't end up like that, I'm a happy man.
Yeah, as long as you got your health.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I can't think of a better way to end. Thank you so much, Andy.
Cheers. Thanks for having me, mate.